Hello and welcome back to Soul Led. I am your host, Kay Miller, Akashic Records reader, rapid reprogrammer, and intuitive guide for your soul led journey. And today I am so excited to bring you a special guest and friend, Edith Oduraa. Edith is a civil engineer turned business expansion architect who helps visionary femme founders step into their Easeful Empress Era through energetically attuned systems, software, and structure. As the founder of House of Oduraa, she builds sacred business infrastructure for paradigm-shifting women ready to scale without self-abandonment. Since 2019, Edith has been the unseen architect behind launches that feel spacious, operations that honor the soul of the work, and tech stacks that actually support sustainable growth. Her work blends sacred strategy, energetic precision, and the practical magic of done with you and done for you implementation. Based in Indianapolis with her two daughters, she serves clients globally, bringing reverence, rhythm, and results to every phase of business evolution. Edith is also a graduate of the Soul Led CEO program, and I could not be more proud to share her incredible work with you all today. So, Edith, thank you so much for joining us and for being here.
Thank you for having me, Kay. I love our conversations. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes. So tell us more about your work and how you help women. What is it about the Easeful Empress Era? What does that mean?
Yes, absolutely. So the Easeful Empress Era is this stage in your business where you're growing, you may have a team, you're reaching more people, but you're not doing it from a place of hustle. For a lot of people, as they're growing their business, it's a lot of boots on the ground, hands-on work. And most businesses eventually reach this plateau where the bottleneck becomes the founder. And the typical paradigm is to work harder. You might add more team members, but work longer hours, hustle, grind. But what I am a big proponent of, what I'm championing, and what so many of us as well are championing is a whole different paradigm where we, instead of adding more hours, we're cutting back, but we're making it more refined. Instead of adding more complexity, more technology, more this and that, we're moving towards simplicity. And in this way, we step into this easeful empress frequency where we're ruling and reigning, we're running a business that's highly impactful, that has jumped past the plateau, but not through sacrificing our soul, sacrificing our nervous systems, sacrificing our relationships, but by embodying more simplicity, embodying that next level of growth. Really, a big part of it as well, where I come in, is gaining more structure in the business and getting really razor sharp on, okay, what are our processes? What is the structure we need? How can I be supported and held instead of me holding the business? Like, now, how can the business hold me? So that's what the Easeful Empress Era is all about. And how I help women with this is just that, is auditing processes, the systems, the technology in the business to say, okay, where is the friction? Where is the bottleneck? Where is this not aligned for the next level of growth? And how do we fix that? And so often that is uncomplicating things, getting clarity, getting visibility on different areas of the business that we've just tucked away in the junk drawer, that are uncomfortable and not and all tangled, but taking a look at those things, untangling them, looking at the software that we're using and saying, okay, is this really what's working for us? Is it time to upgrade the tier? Or do we need a whole different software? Or do we need to utilize this differently? So it's the stuff that feels a little bit less sexy for a lot of us soulful business owners, but is exactly what we need to be in that like juicy 20-hour work week zone while still making good money.
Yes, absolutely. It's working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
And that is something that so many of us want. I mean, I think I'll speak for example, here, I started this business in order to have more personal time freedom, in order to have that, freedom of where I put my energy into. And then I feel like with the business, we're trying to wear all the hats, especially as a solopreneur. Even when we hire out help and work, there's still a lot of hats, right? There's still a lot of tasks. And yeah, so to be able to have that time freedom back,
Yeah,
I
right.
think that is something that we all strive for.
Exactly. Absolutely. And the energy, and just like, yeah, the energy and the peace from
Mhm.
knowing that things are taken care of, that when you go into work every day, you know what you're doing, you know what's running, you know what people are working on. Like just the clarity that also reduces the mental load. So when you're not spending time, you're not mentally spending time. You know, if you're not, when you're not physically spending time, that you're also not mentally spending time and energetically spending time wondering and worrying about what needs to get done the next day you get into the office or wherever you work.
Yeah, that's such a big one. And also because so in my work, I've seen this and work with this as well, is the idea of allowing ourselves to rest without feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure that your work is also about kind of helping us to get to that place, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that sometimes we know mentally, like, okay, rest is restorative, rest is work, you know, I need rest to do well. And I'm a human being. Life is for enjoyment, I believe at least, you know. But we often don't give ourselves the actual structure and support to make that a reality. So, we do have a business that might be kind of all over the place. We don't have clarity on whether we are taking the steps we need to take to get where we want to go. We don't know if we have the systems in place. We don't know where this is and that is. So we close the laptop and we tell ourselves rest. But our brains, which are very intelligent and geared for survival, right, are telling us, like, no, no, because this tab is open and this tab, and like, what about this? And you're going to forget about this, right? So, what the work I do is really being realistic and supporting that ideal of truly resting and restoring ourselves, especially as women, you know, in our cyclical nature, allowing ourselves to move the ebb and flows. Like, it's more than just this intuitive, flowy, like, okay, we get, yes, I do this, but like, there are true things that need to be put in place so that you can actually honor that, you know? And so that's where the structure and the systems, again, some of the stuff that feels less sexy, less flowy, comes into place and allows us to truly rest, you know, and truly unplug. And honestly, I find systems very sexy, but yes,
Yeah, it's your thing, which is
it's my.
great because it's not the thing for so many of us.
Yeah.
And I love what you said, how the business can hold you, right? How can the business hold me? I think that that in itself is a paradigm shifting question
Mm,
for business owners.
yeah.
And I love that you're putting the feminine into the tech, into the
Yes.
structures, which is the masculine. So yeah, it's really incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Let's
you.
talk about your mission.
Sure.
What is the path that has led you here to this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, my degree is in civil engineering. I picked the engineering that felt most right brain almost. You know, civil, it's about people, humanity, civilization. And so I picked that, and I'm grateful I did, because I learned a lot about flow and behavior and connection, you know, from a more cerebral point of view, but it is brought into my work now. And in 2019, my then husband started a business that I helped operationalize from the ground up. And I realized I really love this, the systems, the processes, getting everything in order and infusing every step of the client journey with the brand, and using technology to support that, you know. And so from that point onwards, I began helping other business owners, from, you know, apothecaries to coaches to other contractors like painters, help leverage technology to grow, to step into that easeful era. And a big guiding North Star, if you will, of the work I do is not being rigid, is bringing in that flow and that intuition, and honoring the founder and the business's unique energetic imprint and signature. So for me, I believe, obviously, you and I are beings, right? And we have our own energy signature, we have astrology chart, we have our spirit team. And
Mhm.
I believe our businesses similarly have their own essence and their own data points that they want to provide to us about how to interact with them most effectively. And so that also, I bring in that intuitive understanding into people's businesses. So with tech, I don't just look at a checklist and say, okay, you said you want XYZ, so this meets the criteria. We also sit with the technology, we play in it, and we see, okay, how does this feel in your body? Can you envision yourself, you know, when you've doubled your income? Can you envision yourself in this technology? Can you envision bringing in team members? Because those things matter, right? Because just because something is good on paper doesn't mean it's going to be utilized or be helpful. And the best technology is the technology that's used, right? So I don't want to create systems that make me feel good because, oh, it's so complex and beautiful and it meets all the criteria. No, I want to pick solutions that you will actually use. And so I've, over the years, as I've deepened in my understanding of myself and my love for spirituality and embodiment, that's really what's been woven into the work I do and why I love serving, especially women who resonate with that. Because I think for a lot of us, we're wearing so many hats, as partner, oftentimes as mom. I know a lot of your listeners likely also are moms, and doing business ownership and just wearing all the hats. And I think that structure is so helpful and so supportive for us. And so that's how I ended up here.
Nice. Yeah, it is. You're right. And all the wearing all the hats and the business for many of us, if it is a soul led business, it's your other baby, right? Like we're a mom and we've got these real kids, but then the business is also our baby. And
Yeah,
it's really hard to structure all that time and find that balance. So
absolutely.
yeah, that's important. And I also just want to say that I love so much. And throughout the time period of our friendship, I have been able to watch your business grow as you spiritually mature and, like, just dig into your own journey. I've been able to see you go through different phases. And essentially, what you've done is you brought all of the intuitive sides of previous things that you dabbled in, and you brought it all like back full circle into what has always lit you up,
Mm.
what probably is your true, it's like the three-dimensional skill point, right? The thing that you are good at and have always been good at and you enjoy doing, right? And then bringing the spiritual aspect into it. And uh also, I think that that's where we're headed. I think that that is the age that we are moving into, is intuitive ability comes into everyday life,
Yes.
everyday work, everything.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, it's been fun. And I know we're going to talk about it eventually, but being a part of Soul Led CEO has been such a pivotal part of the integration of all those pieces. Because yes, I found myself bouncing, from this super, like purely spiritual work to then purely cerebral and just, purely emotional, work, trying to figure out how does it all come together. And it just feels really good for it to truly all be blended and to see, oh, there's a need for this. There's other people like me who, they're ambitious. We're ambitious. We're not afraid or embarrassed to say it. We want to build wealth to heal the world, right? And we want to do it though in a way that honors our rhythms and our cycle, and they're looking for help and support this way. So it's so beautiful and really, yeah, I feel so lit up and excited that I get to do this. It feels like such an honor, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Love it. So let's see, did we answer this? How do you blend spirituality and strategy in a way that feels authentic?
Yeah, I think we did a little bit, but um yeah, so there is prevailing, so there's different camps, and depending where somebody falls, hopping to the other camp will be hard. But let's start from the super spiritual business owner. Very intuitive, maybe a bit more like anti-capitalistic, does not a big fan of the bro marketing tactics. The word strategy can feel a little icky and slimy, but strategy is really just looking at where you are, where you want to go, and devising a plan to get there. It doesn't have to be unethical, it doesn't have to be yucky, right? But it is more of a cerebral exercise at times. But when we blend in the intuitive, we say, yes, let me look at, okay, where are my people at? Like that matters. If you're wanting to serve people with back pain, um, showing up in spaces where people have, I don't even know. That's probably a bad example. Let's say like if you want to help people bulk up and gain muscle, showing up in a place perhaps where in ballet spaces where they don't want to bulk up, they want to stay slender is probably not a good idea. That's such a weird example. So that is like an example of strategy where you don't necessarily need intuition to recognize if, okay, am I showing up in the right places to meet the right people? But we blend in the intuition where when we say, okay, how do I show up as myself? Like who in this room should I really connect with in this moment? And we follow the spark. Like what conversation, you might have a list of people that you've connected with. Who should I prioritize today? And we allow intuition to bubble up. And we can let strategy play as well. Like, oh, I remember this person mentioned in the conversation this. That sounds like something that I could help them with. And so it's this dance of checking in with both slash all parts of ourselves. And
Mhm.
even with our business plan, like for me, I just went through the shift of having been on Instagram and been on there actively and really just feeling less and less at home there. And it would be easy for me to look at the strategy and say, hey, there's X billion number of people on there, running ads, I can gain traction. I could have strategized that and done all that. But
Right.
internally, my spirit was like,
That's the bro
no,
marketing.
bro, exactly. You just push through, you just do the thing, you got the funnel, which if that works for you, that's totally fine, right? But my intuition was saying, no, like you need to do long form, you need to show up in these different spaces. And doing that, I'm getting so much more traction and it feels more easeful and joyful, And the beautiful thing is that nothing is set in stone. We can play, we can experiment, right? So I could do the long form and maybe after a month, I'm like, you know what, actually, I'm not feeling this as much. I don't mind the short form content. And maybe it's not Instagram, maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's Blue Sky, who knows, But it's about play and experimentation, but fundamentally bringing in all pieces of ourselves, bringing in our brain, bringing in our spirit, bringing in our emotions. I know that as spiritual business owners, oftentimes we can bash the mind a bit. There's a lot of talk about embodiment and get in your body, and the body is the ultimate compass. And I think it's a great pendulum swinging, from where the body's been divorced from a lot of our daily life, but the brain is also equally important and equally beautiful. And it's wonderful to be cerebral, be cerebral and be embodied, and be emotional and be all of it. So I feel like blending strategy and spirituality, and the sacred is really about just bringing your full self to your business and trusting all parts of yourself equally and doing the work to resolve any conflict or friction you feel between them. Yeah.
Because ultimately, interestingly enough, our businesses are part of the spiritual journey, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Big time.
When you have a soul led business, it's I think that in a way it's a catalyst for growth as well.
Yeah.
And I just want to also reiterate what you just said about that, bringing your whole self into it.
Yeah.
It's the body, it's the cerebral, it's the emotional, it's the spiritual, it's the everything.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
So cool. Okay. What are some of your favorite tools or rituals that help entrepreneurs hold more without doing more?
Yes. So the first stop I have for anybody um, is building a second brain. And so the concept of a second brain was penned by Tiago Forte. I can provide a link so people can check him out, but I want to give credit. But it's essentially just having a place that is not your brain, that everything, all the tasks, notes, etc., are stored. And so this is I think the most potent first step if you don't have this, or if you have it but it's disorganized or not utilized effectively. Because once you build a repository in a place, not repository has the connotation of being static. This is dynamic. You want to be using it and playing with it, every day. Once you have that place, all the things that are swirling in your mind, you no longer have to bear the mental load of all the things swirling in your mind. Exactly. And that frees up your creativity, it frees up your energy. And it's like a deep sigh of relief, just knowing like, oh, okay, nothing is falling between the cracks. So I have a course I made years ago about setting this up. I'm going to retool it and probably offer it. So if I do, I can come back and give you that link so your viewers can access that. But that is like one of the biggest things I'll say. And for me, I love Todoist. It's really simple. The free plan does a lot. It's intuitive, like Asana. I ran my business for a little bit purely on Apple reminders and like Apple Notes. They're pretty powerful. So software like that, what you want to make sure again is that you will actually use it. If a Google Doc is what's best, if it's maybe a little bit less dynamic, but you know that you'll use it, start there. And over time, you can build and maybe potentially shift into a different platform that is a little bit more agile and a little bit more made for this kind of thing. So that's like a big thing. Another thing that
Yeah.
I really love is having a work startup and shutdown ritual. So I keep it simple, I keep it short, but it helped me really contain my energy and be very effective and focused and really step into that Empress frequency. And that's actually part of my work startup ritual. For me, it looks like first setting the environment because that's so important, like preparing the environment, get some sage sometime or Palo Santo, get some incense. I have a deck of cards with fun affirmations, so I'll pull one and like just meditate on it, and then I'll visualize what it feels like when my goals are achieved. And I mentioned earlier that it's been super cool because of late my visualizations have been me just being like, it already is, I am, but also just really connecting with that Empress frequency and feeling what it feels like to be just embodied and in control and easeful and just doing the things that come naturally, and money and clients and impact just flowing in. And then at the end of the day, having a, a, a shutdown ritual where part of it is tactical, where I'm gathering the things I didn't finish this today and reassigning them, putting dates on them, closing all the tabs mentally and literally in my computer. And then just
I
again,
gotta say, how many of us do that?
yeah.
Actually close tabs? I don't. I just leave it up there until the project's done.
Right. I mean, and
But that's
everybody's different.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. It feels very symbolic, and it feels good when I open it the next day, not to immediately have all the things I need to do in my face.
Right.
Yeah. And then just, I have a little mantra where I just say, not enough is enough. That's not the right word, the right phrase, but like I've done enough. My rest brings
I
in
am enough.
more. And I know that's a big affirmation that you really like. Yeah. 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 And just closing it out, sitting in the energy of I've done enough. And what helps me do these work, the startup and shutdown ritual with integrity, is having a plan and structure around what I need to do every day. What does each day look like? And that goes into weekly planning and all that different kind of stuff. But I would say having a second brain and then
Hmm.
incorporating a startup and shutdown ritual are some of the biggest hitting things to do as soon as possible.
I think those are incredible. Those are really, really important. Yeah. And thank you for that reminder about, I also have I don't have a shutdown ritual, so I'm going to start one. But the startup ritual, I have one as well. In the chaos of life that
Yes.
happens sometimes, like we're doing good just to like make it in and
Yep.
get in like that hour before client work and be able to hold that space. And anyway, I kind of forget about holding the space for myself and
Yeah.
for my business. I'm really
Yeah.
good at holding space for my clients, but when it comes
Right.
to the business, because she's an entity in herself,
Ex-
right? You already said that.
Yeah.
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 So cool. Thank you for that reminder. And do you teach your clients how to do that? Do you teach
Yes.
them?
Absolutely. Yes.
Good.
And we build it just for them. Yes. My beautiful CEO.
Perfect. Yes, I love it. Okay. So, why do so many brilliant founders resist systems and how can they shift that relationship?
Absolutely. I kind of alluded to this a little bit. I will say, especially for spiritual founders, there's a lot of, I think, resistance to structure and what feels like containment and dimming creativity. That's how we interpret it sometimes. And I think even outside of the spiritual realm in general, people who start businesses have a decent amount of risk tolerance and are typically visionaries. Love ideas, moving fast, and with structure, you have to go slow to go fast initially. It takes time to sit and reflect on what will work and then put it into place, and then allow yourself to be restrained a little bit as you get into your flow, and then you accelerate. But that liminal season of figuring out what works and allowing yourself to be chained to it for a bit and as it's clunky is what I think a lot of people struggle with. And I think for me, yeah, there's a few mindset shifts that you just have to really reflect on and accept to ease that burden. And one is belief is mental load is your enemy. So we talked about setting up a second brain. When you're moving fast, you don't have a lot of time to process the things that are slowing you down. But when you start noticing mental load, when you start recognizing the cost of disorganization, the cost of inefficiency, it becomes like painful. When you're like, oh my goodness, if I'd spent 5 minutes prepping for this, it wouldn't have taken me this hour, or like, man, I cannot shut my brain off. I don't feel rested after this weekend because of all this chatter, even though my laptop was closed. Like, once you start becoming aware of that, like, make it your enemy, make it your enemy. And then that frustration will move you down the path further of being like, okay, I need to resolve this. Another mindset shift is that like systems and structure hold you, like help your business hold you. When we visualize this relationship, us holding our businesses. It's like spinning the plates, carrying all these papers and whatnot. But if you can get that mental image of your business as a being, like hoisting you up and holding you and like okay, here's some money. Okay, here's fulfillment. Like, okay, here's your voice being activated. Like, when we see that we're not working for our business, we're not working in our business. Like, we are partnering with our business to bring about the flourishing of humanity. It doesn't matter what you do, but if you're doing it well, if you're doing it ethically, and it's obviously some, like, you're not like selling drugs, like you're doing stuff that is advancing people's well-being, then
Yeah.
like you are bringing the flourishing, and this is a partnership. And so your business wants to hold you, your business wants you to succeed, your business wants you to do well. And for that to be for your business to effectively help you, it needs structure. That's like its bones, and that's what allows it to pick you up and to hold you. And so think of structure in that way. It's allowing, giving the bones to your business so it can hold you. And I think when you go down that path of beginning to frame things in that way of like, okay, how can I be supported? And I'll say last thing and finally is also acknowledging that you are worthy of being supported. You mentioned, that we can hold space for clients so easily, but holding space for ourselves and oftentimes by extension our businesses is a whole different thing. Same. And I imagine that pretty much every woman would probably resonate with that, right? When it comes down to the heart of it, slowing down and taking time to build structure is saying that you, Edie, sure, if I'm talking to myself, like, you are worth emails being answered a little bit slower for a week. You are worth a deep breath. You're worth the discomfort of, in the long run, being well supported, having a regulated nervous system, being well, enjoying life. And so we need to remind ourselves of that as well. Like, I'm worth the discomfort. Like, I'm worth the frustration, also the vision. The people who are going to be served are worth the discomfort, worth the vision. And I think with kind of those three mental reframes, we can begin to see structure not as our enemy, not as a way to dim our spark, but as a very necessary tool to help us really walk our soul path.
It is beautiful. I wrote down so many notes just now. And I think for me, and what you're saying and have been saying throughout the beginning of this, is the biggest mindset shift for me is that the business is there to nourish you,
Yeah.
right? So much of this, we think that we have to do everything and we have to build the business. We're building it together, but in a way, anyway, it's just a huge shift thinking of the business supporting you, the business nurturing you, the
Yeah.
business nourishing you, holding you. It's a really incredible shift.
Yeah.
So
I
thank
love
you
that.
for all of that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, as we mentioned earlier, Edie is a graduate of the Soul Led CEO program with me. So, Edie, tell us a little bit about your experience and what prompted you to join.
Absolutely. So, yeah, as I mentioned, I have been on this journey of trying to marry all these different pieces of myself and my mission and just feeling really frustrated. And at the right time, Kay reached out and let me know about this program that she's running, Solid CEO. And I was like, oh my goodness, perfect timing. And so I was coming into the program confident that confident that I had gifts to share with the world, but really just disoriented and going through a lot of personal changes, business changes. And I mean, I feel like a whole different person when I think about it. And it hasn't been that long ago.
Right.
And so during the program, I mean, we tapped into my spirit team and the Akashic records. Like, we did Akashic healing and reintegrating pieces of myself that had been at odds with my destiny and like the wisdom that wanted to come through. And then, like, I also love that you yourself have business prowess. Like, even before we open the records, I know we talk about offer structures and just different things like that, like where um, like the years you've spent running a business just came into play. And so by the end of it, I mean, I had a massive shift. Like, in the 3 or 4 months we worked together, I was able to really test a direction that I thought I wanted to go in, gain clarity that it was not aligned, and just have, I mean, in the span of like 2 weeks, just this massive download about like, okay, this is how these things all fit together. And just like this confidence, I felt like the Empress era frequency that I talk about a lot, it just really downloaded in me. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I know how to access that frequency. I know how to access the essence. And so I remember I even had a dream, I think right at the end, where I don't think I even told you this, where I was sleeping and in the dream, I literally like, it was like I stepped into the Empress era, but it was like a room in the dream, but like I felt my like cells expanding. It's so hard to explain, but it's just so
Wow.
fun because we're doing work with you. It's it is cerebral, but it's also spiritual and emotional and even somatic. And so just again bringing the whole self, my whole self was able to come, and out of that, like I switched that direction, got aligned, and I had like two or three signed proposals like that month that we ended. We ended in April, right? I think. Yeah. I had two or three signed proposals and finished those, and I have more coming from that. And just like it's just so good. Like I'm just flowing. So yeah, I do tell anybody who's thinking about it, you need to do it. Like whether for business or just for life, like we have so much at our disposal. You have your spirit team that's so ready, and Kay is truly like tapped in because some of the stuff that you would say, like there's no way you would have been able to know that, you know. And I'm so grateful. So yeah, that's been my experience. As you could tell, it was amazing,
Amazing.
tremendous. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm more tuned into other people's spirit guides than,
Yeah.
when we're like stuck in our own having a moment and you can't quite hear. That's where I have a lot of clients come to me and say, I can't access my guides. Like I don't know what's going on, but I really need help with this.
Right.
And so yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah.
We all go through that, including me. I can
Yeah.
access other people's, but sometimes it takes quieting that voice in the head.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know why I brought that up, but hey,
It must have been
it's
needed.
relevant.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, thank you so much for all of that. And what would you say that the program has helped you achieve in the long run?
Yeah. Confidence and clarity, I think, are the huge ones. I think there's a lot of prevailing thought that like you can't quite know what will work, you know, or life is experimentation, and the work the work that you do and in Soul Led CEO dispels so much confusion. Like there was so much clarity about what steps to take, you know, and what needs to be done, and like the healing that comes through. And that was super profound. And then the confidence, which I think came likely from the healing aspect, especially, you know, parts and pieces of me that had been like fragmented, or and the rapid reprogramming. Yes, yes, yes. That was a big part of it as well. Like my brain is now trained to look for data that everything's going to work out because of the work that we did. And because of that, everything works out, right? And so I would say those are the two big things. And like I mentioned, the clarity and confidence, those frequencies now have allowed me to just magnetize more clients and feel un un like nobody can shake my confidence that like it's just going to continue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel somewhat called to, and we can always edit. Would you feel comfortable sharing in somewhere around the end of the first month, probably the beginning of the second month, we had uncovered a witch wound for
Mm,
you
yeah.
that is, I mean, a lot of us have them. Hello. Like, I mean, there
Yeah.
were a lot of people that were impacted, a lot of souls that were impacted during that era. And it keeps us from visibility
Yes.
because the subconscious has that memory from that has that soul memory. The subconscious is interpreting that soul memory. And so in order to keep you safe, it keeps you silent
Yeah.
and invisible.
Hmm.
So if you're struggling with that,
Yeah.
there could be a reason. So
Yes.
we don't have to go into like the soul fragment that we uncovered and healed in that session, but how did that affect you afterwards? Because I feel like that's a really big piece of the confidence.
Yeah, it's fun that you mentioned that because I had forgotten, and now I'm looking back because it's funny. I think in business it helped me trust my voice. So for me, I don't mind being provocative and loud. I've had a reel or two go semi-viral and have had some fun comments, you know, but in terms of being vulnerable, like actually sharing and showing myself, that is harder. And from that, since then, I've shifted from Instagram where it's funny because I would be out there saying what I felt like I needed to say confidently, but I was hiding in a sense. But I'm now doing, like I mentioned, in a more intimate space in my emails and newsletter, sharing more of my heart, sharing like what's actually going on in my life and the lessons I'm learning, like being bolder. And so I feel like, yeah, in a way, I'm hiding less the humanness of me, and it's resonating. But also in my personal life, it's funny. I didn't think about that. I've been having conversations all over the place. Like, yeah, I've been having conversations that have been years in the making and just unapologetically throat chakra wide open. And I feel like that is also because it's all interconnected, personal life,
Right.
business life, whatever. And that has also accelerated things for me. Just being unapologetic in those areas allows me to be like, I'm confident. I got this. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying in business. So yeah, that's fun. There's a lot of fun stories
Mhm.
of the healed witch wound, and now Edie is just out here unbothered. Yes.
Yeah. It was such a profound um, experience, I feel like,
Mm,
for me.
likewise.
So, yeah. And so much of your journey was just really special. And I'm so grateful to have been able to have it with you and to see where it has taken you,
Yeah.
as you said, coming through the forest and not being able to see how to get to the bigger picture, right? It's like you had that bigger picture, but the way to get there was unaligned. And
Yeah.
you felt that throughout, and it allowed you to go through and heal it and get to the
Yes.
place that did feel aligned.
Yeah. That's such a perfect summary of that journey. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yes. So as I mentioned, I'm not really on social media. I do have a Pinterest account, but I'm most active on my newsletter, which will be linked below. I may be on LinkedIn. I got kicked off because I changed my name and I didn't change my ID. So LinkedIn's being shady, but I'll probably be on there in a little bit. So I'll send you the link to add that. But yes, my newsletter is the best place to find me, or you can follow me on Pinterest. I love to chat and connect.
Yeah. And you have a great blog
Thank
that,
you.
so if you follow Edie on Pinterest, then you'll
Yeah,
see her blog.
exactly.
They are good. Really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love it. Everything feels so aligned. Thank you.
So if you could leave us with one message for women who dream of time freedom
Mm.
and bringing that soul-led business to life, what would it be?
I would say trust your desires. Depending on where you're coming from, desire and longing has been taboo or bad or scary. Like you can't trust your heart, you can't trust your intuition. I am where I am today because I trusted my longing. My longing was showing me that there is more. There's more for me vocationally, there's more for me relationally, there's more for me financially. And so that longing, that like holy discontentment is a spark and a thread that will lead you exactly where you need to be and to the people you need to be talking to and the opportunities you need to be taking. And so, yeah, I would say just spend time connecting with your deep soul aching desires, not just, oh, I want ice cream and that too. Maybe your body's craving, it's a little imbalanced, whatever, your blood sugar is low. But
Mhm.
deeper than that, what are you craving? What are you hungry for? And like allow yourself to visualize, to play with it, and to believe that it's possible. Once we open ourselves up to our desires, our higher self will move heaven and earth to help us make it happen.
I love that. Tuning into the desire,
Yeah.
allowing yourself to know that you can have that.
Yeah.
You can have what you desire. I think that's where so many of us get stuck.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I just want to say it one more time because it was amazing. When you tune into that and when you decide that you are worthy of that desire and that you can have it, your higher self, the universe will move heaven and earth
Yeah.
in order to make that happen. It
Hmm.
is law. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much, Edie. This has been just amazing. And I just love you so much. So
Love
thank
you, Kate.
you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for
And
having me.
yeah, thank you for sharing your wisdom and your heart with us. So appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Kay.
And guys, I will put all the links down in the description below, and we will see you later.